bus stop bench is cold, a slab of brushed steel vibrating under the weight of the morning commute. Beyond the glass shelter, the street is not a street at all. A vertical wall of seawater, silent and impossibly dense, stands where the office blocks should be. It is a translucent emerald curtain, thousands of feet high, teeming with the blurred, frantic shapes of deep sea life. WYRMSCALE watches a single, ancient bubble of trapped air rise through the center of the liquid monolith. The bus schedule on the plexiglass is still lit, displaying times that no longer apply to a world submerged in shadow. Above, the sky has been squeezed out, replaced by the crushing pressure of the abyss held back by an invisible, humming boundary. A school of silver fish darts against the barrier, their scales flashing like needles. WYRMSCALE adjusts the collar of a heavy trench coat, the fabric damp from the sheer, unearthly humidity radiating from the standing tide just inches away. The asphalt beneath the shelter begins to buckle, yielding to the weight of the ocean that refuses to move. Cracks spiderweb outward, glowing with a soft, bioluminescent blue that matches the hue of the water. As the ground heaves, the shelter's metal frame groans, twisting like a discarded toy. A parked car is swallowed into a fissure, silenced instantly as it descends into the dark, churning depths beneath the road. WYRMSCALE remains seated, watching the earth surrender its rigid form to the rising tide. Traffic lights at the intersection flicker, cycling through red, amber, and green in a rhythmic, useless dance. The electricity surges, sparking against the encroaching moisture until the wiring melts into black, smoking ribbons. A sudden, hollow boom echoes across the city, the sound of a structural support giving way beneath the immense pressure of the wall. Debris rains down, but it falls slowly, held in a strange, suspended gravity that makes every falling brick look like a deliberate, measured choice. WYRMSCALE brushes a fine layer of gray dust from a leather satchel, ignoring the frantic shouting of commuters running toward the subway entrance. There is no panic in the movement, only a rhythmic tap of fingers against the satchel's brass buckle. When the water wall shutters, sending a fine mist of salt spray across the sidewalk, WYRMSCALE simply blinks, eyes fixed on a specific, swirling current within the deep. The breathing remains steady, rhythmic, and entirely unbothered by the displacement of the atmosphere. A discarded newspaper dances in the wind, its headlines about interest rates and weather patterns now rendered absurd by the towering ocean. WYRMSCALE retrieves his small, thermos-like canister from the bag, unscrewing the cap with a precise, clinical twist. The smell of bitter coffee cuts through the heavy scent of brine. A sip is taken, long and slow, as the horizon continues to shift, the vast, aquatic wall creeping forward by a fraction of a millimeter, reclaiming the city block by slow, inevitable increment. The eyes of WYRMSCALE scan the immediate vicinity, cataloging the abandoned briefcases, the stalled bicycles, and the abandoned umbrellas leaning against the shelter. Each item is measured for its utility. The chaos of the crowd is a noise to be filtered, a static hum that obscures the real work of observation. A deep, resonant thrum emanates from the wall, a frequency that vibrates in the teeth. It is a language of pressure and tectonic shift, and WYRMSCALE recognizes the cadence of the approaching surge. Inside the satchel, beneath a layer of mundane personal effects, lies a heavy, hexagonal anchor of hardened, etched glass. WYRMSCALE runs a thumb over the glowing, recessed runes carved into its surface. It is a ballast for a storm that has not yet peaked, a singular tool calibrated for the specific density of the incoming ocean. The anchor is warm to the touch, pulsing with a faint, rhythmic heartbeat that mirrors the surge behind the bus stop, waiting for the precise moment of alignment. Above the asphalt expanse of the parking lot, a singular tower of iron and pale light ascends, its peak vanishing into the bruised underbelly of the clouds. WYRMSCALE observes the structure not as an intrusion, but as a deliberate architectural response. Years ago, buried beneath the foundation of a cathedral now submerged under miles of sediment, the blueprints for this spire were etched in wax. It was never meant to house the living. It was designed as a lightning rod for the coming displacement. The tower shivers, a low-frequency hum vibrating through the soles of WYRMSCALE boots. This is not a spontaneous spire rising from the ruin. It is a synchronized emergence. The anchor in hand grows heavier, its temperature rising to match the fever of the atmosphere. The shifting geometry of the horizon suggests that the tower is not merely reaching outward, but acting as a tether, pulling the sky down to meet the encroaching water, folding the vertical distance until the heavens and the sea share a single crushing weight. Silence descends over the parking lot, heavy and absolute, as the first of the observers emerge from the shadows of the abandoned vehicles. They are not fleeing, they are expectant, their faces upturned toward the spire's unseen summit. WYRMSCALE notes their patterns. They move in triads, marking the pavement with chalk lines that mirror the constellations. The margin for error has evaporated. If the alignment is not held within the next few minutes, the pressure differential will tear the very fabric of the local atmosphere into ribbons. The clouds begin to bleed. Light is sickly, incandescent glow that bleeds down the sides of the tower like cooling leaf. Time is no longer a linear progression, but a tightening coil. WYRMSCALE feels the anchor pulse faster, the rhythm now demanding a physical connection to the tower's base. Every second wasted is a structural failure in the making. The surge behind the bus stop crests, its roar muffled by the atmospheric thickening, and the threshold for a safe transition closes with the precision of a guillotine. A secondary force manifests at the edge of the lot, draped in the gray, utilitarian garb of those who seek to suppress the tide rather than guide it. They hold containment canisters that hum with a discordant, buzzing interference, attempting to destabilize the tower's foundation. WYRMSCALE recognizes the insignia on their collars. They are the architects of the false peace, the ones who promised that the world could be frozen in its current, decaying state. They have arrived to dismantle the anchor, unaware that its destruction ensures total annihilation. Amidst the commotion, WYRMSCALE retrieves a small, metallic cylinder from the pocket of a discarded coat. It contains the original calibration logs, etched onto thin sheets of gold-leafed synthetic fiber. This is the material proof, the ledger that confirms the tower's necessity. As the opposing force moves closer, rifles raised, WYRMSCALE unfolds the document. It is not a map, but a series of geometric proofs that clearly demonstrate how the tower's existence is the only thing preventing the immediate collapse of the surrounding continental shelf. The leader of the containment team halts, peering at the document held out by WYRMSCALE. The light from the tower reflects off the gold-leafed fibers, illuminating the equations for everyone to see. There is no ambiguity in the mathematics. The sheer, undeniable reality of the logic forces the soldiers to lower their weapons. The logs verify the inevitability of the surge, proving that the containment units they carry would only accelerate the disaster they were deployed to prevent. The evidence is cold, hard, and irrefutable. The soldiers begin to dissipate, their purpose shattered by the document's revelation, but their departure is merely a distraction. WYRMSCALE senses a deeper presence, a signature of consciousness far beyond the reach of the containment team. Someone else is watching from the clouds, someone who knew the anchor was ready before the first stone of the tower was laid. The proof was not for the soldiers, it was a signal sent to the architects of the void, announcing that the alignment has finally begun. The containment team advances, their tactical gear a jarring contrast against the serene, impossible curve of the water wall looming behind the rusted bus stop. WYRMSCALE stands motionless, a solitary figure dwarfed by the vertical ocean that defies every law of fluid dynamics. The commander raises a hand, signaling for a hard stop, his eyes tracking the shimmer where light bends around the event horizon. There is no aggression in their approach, only the cold, mechanical curiosity of those who mistake a dam for a blockade. WYRMSCALE spreads the geometric proofs across the slick, rain-drenched pavement. The diagrams are etched in a light that seems to bleed into the asphalt, projecting a three-dimensional model of the structural integrity of the continental shelf. The soldiers huddle around the display, their thermal sensors recording the impossible mathematical vibrations emanating from the paper. They look from the shifting numbers to the wall of water, realization dawning that the tower they intended to dismantle is the very tether holding the Earth in place. The commander moves to overwrite the priority sequence, his fingers dancing across a portable interface in a desperate attempt to stabilize the pressure differential. He is trying to force the atmosphere to reconcile with the two and hoping to shrink the anomaly into immeasurable void. WYRMSCALE watches the air begin to fray at the edges of the containment field, the fabric of reality thinning into translucent ribbons. The attempt to dampen the surge only accelerates the inevitable, turning the local sky into a jagged, kaleidoscopic mirror. As the commander initiates the final override, the wall of water behind the bus stop pulses with a rhythmic, deafening thrum. The structural anchor, stripped of its protective calibration, begins to shed its mass. The soldiers are thrown back by the sudden vacuum, their sophisticated tech fracturing under the weight of the raw, displaced kinetic energy. It is not an explosion, but a collapse, the weight of the oceanic wall finally finding its equilibrium by crushing the very hubris that sought to quantify its massive, silent power. WYRMSCALE absorbs the backlash, the energy grounding through bone and spirit. The cost is immediate, the vision blurs, and the familiar world begins to lose its sharp, tactile edges. To hold the shell from sliding into the abyss, the anchor must be anchored in something living. The pain is a quiet, steady hum, a reminder that the price of stabilization is the slow erosion of the self. Each flicker of the sky costs a piece of memory, traded for a few seconds of geological silence. The commander lies in the debris of his own machinery, staring upward as the wall of water slowly dissipates into a fine, freezing mist. The continental shelf holds, shuddering once like a great beast settling into a long sleep. The soldiers regroup, humbled by the sheer scale of the forces they failed to command. They walk away, leaving behind the wreckage and the silence, their mission rendered meaningless by the sudden, profound understanding that some things are never meant to be touched by human hands. WYRMSCALE clears the glass from the bus stop bench, the task methodical and repetitive. The shattered plastic of the schedule sign is swept into a neat pile, a small act of restoration in a landscape marked by the upheaval. The air tastes of salt and ozone, the residue of a world stretched to its breaking point. There is no joy in the preservation of the mundane, only the necessity of order. The bus stop is once again just a place to wait, though the view is forever altered. The horizon no longer aligns with the memories of the morning. A line of trees that once stood on the western ridge has vanished, erased by the shifting topography during the alignment. WYRMSCALE touches the cold metal of the bench, feeling the vibration of the earth deep beneath the concrete. Something fundamental has been lost, a tether to a simpler past that can never be retrieved. The work of recovery continues, but the world is smaller now, defined by what has been surrendered to the deep. WYRMSCALE brushes the fine, gray silt from her palms, kneeling beside a stack of salvaged blueprints. Beside her, Eli sorts through the twisted rebar of a collapsed storefront, his movements rhythmic and devoid of urgency. They do not speak of the sky, nor of the tower that now simply ends where the clouds begin, vanishing into a ceiling of static. Every brick salvaged is a small, quiet victory against the void, a deliberate refusal to let the silence consume the geography of their intimacy. The clock at the edge of the parking lot has been fixed to read 5, though the sun has not moved in hours. WYRMSCALE adjusts the strap of her pack, listening to the hum of the cooling tower as it vibrates against the damp asphalt. Routine is the only address she possesses now. She marks the inventory lists with a steady hand, noting the exact weight of the salvaged steel, conscious that the distance between her and the horizon grows with every breath she takes. She finds the locket buried beneath a layer of compressed shale, its hinge snapped and useless. It belonged to the archive, a fragment of a name she can no longer quite place, yet it feels necessary to label and store. The tower looms overhead, a monolithic pillar of impossible geometry that refuses to acknowledge gravity or intent. WYRMSCALE tucks the metal trinket into her pocket, sealing the last of the external cabinets, finally relinquishing the need to decipher the shifting, silent architecture above. Night does not fall, but the light shifts to a bruised, violet hue that bleeds into the pavement. WYRMSCALE stands in the center of the parking lot, watching as a single bird circles the base of the tower, its flight path tracing the jagged edge where the structure dissolves into vapor. There is no tremor now, only the expansive weight of an atmosphere that has forgotten how to be empty. She turns away from the sky, focused entirely on the uneven path beneath her boots. The parking lot is nearly cleared, the debris piled into orderly cairns that mimic the shape of the distant, missing ridge. WYRMSCALE pauses at the perimeter, looking back one final time at the tower that stretches upward until it is indistinguishable from the clouds. The world has not ended, but it has ceased to be the one they were promised. She walks toward the shelter, her shadow stretching long and thin across the concrete, merging with the absolute stillness of the settling earth.